Greetings, lovers of mysticism and the unknown. Welcome to the Incredible Stories channel. We are explorers of the unexplainable and unbelievable. Today, I will tell you an interesting story. Brew up some goodies and enjoy. If you summarize all the existing information, it turns out that the U.S. Navy Command tried to generate the most powerful electromagnetic fields using the installation on the warship Eldridge. As a result, light and radio waves would circle the ship, making it invisible to human eyes and enemy locators. According to the Western press, July 22, 1943, the ship, located in the dock, after turning on the equipment, was first enveloped in a greenish fog and then completely disappeared from view. After switching off the electromagnetic current generators, the ship reappeared, but it appeared that some of the sailors were melted into the metal hull of the ship, others were severely nauseated, and a strange glow emanated from others. It seemed that after such terrible consequences, a repeat of the experiment was out of the question. But the war was going on, and the leaders of the American Navy decided that the generators had been set up incorrectly, and the experiment had to be repeated. On October 28, 1943, for fear of unpleasant surprises, the destroyer was taken to the roadstead, and the electromagnetic unit was turned on again. A strange glow enveloped the ship again, and it disappeared. After a while, the Eldridge reappeared for a short time, but not at the place of the experiment, but many miles away in Norfolk, Virginia. Disappearing for the third time, the destroyer materialized again at the site of the experiment. The ship's sailors were terrifying to look at. Of the crew of 200 men, only 21 returned unharmed. Most of the sailors died of burns and electric shock, but even those who survived behaved very strangely. They constantly fell into a state of prostration, and one sailor walked through a wall and disappeared. One of those who survived was Alfred Billick. Moreover, for 2 years he was considered missing, but as it turned out after his return, the teleportation to the future was successful. The man visited the year 2749 and told what he saw there. There was no Africa or Australia on the world map. Instead, there were dozens of small islands. Either the continents had been bombed or the level of the world's oceans had risen. Antarctica turned out to be thawed and blooming. Buildings were forbidden to be built there, and it was the main lungs of the planet. Large states swallowed up the small ones, so that left China, the United States, the Kingdom of Europe, and Russia. On the territories outside the control of these countries, too, people lived, but there was no order in culture. The so-called lawless zones were where criminals, undesirable inhabitants, and simply those who refused to obey were sent. Alfred Billick claimed that only about 300 million people would remain on Earth. Despite World War III and World War IV, the great powers would persist and acquire new territories. Medicine in 2749 will use vibratory and light methods to restore organs and systems that were known in ancient India. But for now, this knowledge is not available to us after their loss. Humans will finally create fusion. It will be enough to put some organics in the reactor, and the whole city will be able to be supplied with energy. Wandering islands will float in the oceans, harnessing the energy of water. The government will control the birth rate. Thus, a family will be allowed to have no more than 2 children. Over the 4 surviving states would be a higher authority council. Huge installations would bypass the law of gravity, so that the buildings of the cities would grow to a height of 3 to 5 kilometers. This would allow cities to take up little space, which would free up land to be planted with forests. According to Alfred, not everyone will be able to adapt to the new world. For several decades, the most brutal selection will take place. It would be more terrible than war. Families would be separated, but without it, mankind would again face uncontrolled growth in numbers and enormous consumption of resources. All weapons of mass destruction will be in the hands of the supreme government. There will be no wars on Earth. By the way, by 2749, Earthlings will colonize Mars, and several cosmodromes will be built on the Moon. Billick said that every inhabitant of the Earth will have their own credits, with which they can buy everything they want from what is available. For example, it will be possible to buy your own floating island, but everything will belong to the supreme government, and for the credits will be given to the inhabitants of the planet until the end of his days of life, after which all the accumulated and acquired will return again to the treasury of the world government. In the 25th century, according to Alfred, mankind experienced a change in the magnetic fields of the Earth, thanks to the creation of artificial poles. After returning to our world, Bielek first of all contacted the leaders of Philadelphia experiment, and with joy told everything that he saw in the future. The same day, the man was taken to an unknown destination. There is an opinion that they tried to medically erase his memory, but they failed to do so to the end. Alfred Bielek, after several sessions of regressive hypnosis and watching a feature film about the same experiment, remembered everything and held more than 40 conferences in different countries. Most considered him a charlatan and accused him of lying. However, some of the details he recounted are beginning to seem true today. Antarctica is melting. It would be more convenient to launch spacecraft from the moon because of the low gravitational force, so the construction of a cosmodrome there is logical. Even these days, the plans for terraforming Mars for the construction of residential colonies are being drawn up. Conspiracy theorists have been trumpeting about the world government for a long time. So what, in the words of Alfred Bielek, may not be true? In my opinion, he describes a very real future. What do you think? What did you think of it? Write in the comments. Be sure to get likes, subscribe to our channel, and check out other amazing stories.